600 wins, 6 Georgia State championships, 16 regional championships, 2-time National Coach of the Year, first team from Georgia to win the City of Palms Classic, the nation's #1 high school tournament, first team in Georgia history to attend the Dick's Sporting Goods National Tournament of Championships. He's produced numerous NBA players and professional basketball players all over the world. It's real basketball talk. It's real help and real life with Coach Doug Lipscomb on the BG Podcast Network.
And welcome once again to Real Life Basketball. Darren Sutherland and the legend, Coach Doug Lipscomb. Coach, how are you?
Great.
You remember when I used to call you when we first started David Lipscomb?
Hey, that's because of that university up there. I guess you thought I had something to do with that, too.
Yeah, now, the only thing I know about that university is our good friend at 247 Sports, Jerry Myers' daddy was a head coach up there for years and did a pretty good job up there back in the day. But did y'all play them when you was at Middle Tennessee State?
No, we didn't. We didn't play them.
Hey, coming up today, folks, we're going to have an interview with the number 3 draft pick in the 1996 NBA draft. He was number 3 pick overall. Got a great interview coming up with Georgia legend Shareef Abdur-Rahim, Coach, and he's going to give us some great insight, no doubt, on his high school career, his college career, his post-basketball career, his Olympic career, and we may touch a little bit on the NBA and the draft and that sort of thing, but we're going to stick with those subjects primarily today, and I think folks will get a good aspect of what it's life, what the real life basketball is all about. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and it's going to be very good to hear Shareef speak on how his life has been and the things he's involved with now. And
I'm sure Shareef will talk good about you, Coach. Maybe say a few kind words about you as we walk through this interview.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to say a lot of good things about him because he's a great guy.
Let me ask you this before we go into this interview. And how did you meet Shareef?
The very first time I went to the school, they were showing me around, and I just happened to go into the gym, and I seen some kids playing basketball, and I looked down there and I over the rail, and I saw him playing. And,
how tall was he at that point, you think?
I think he's about 6'5".
About 6'5", so you said, okay, there's my first varsity player.
Well, he was going into the 10th grade, and I said, yeah, we're going
to work with him.
Yeah, we're going to change that 4 and 20 to something else, you know.
We're going to work with him, and we're going to do a little something. And as he will contend, Wheeler was primarily a football and baseball school.
Well, with that record, it wasn't much of a choice.
Was the girls' team any good back then?
Yeah, they were decent. And as a matter of fact, he had a sister on that team, too, Shareef Abdur-Rahim.
Shareef Abdur-Rahim.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But anyway, we're going to have a great interview with Shareef and talk to him. Great interview last week with Mike Thompson. Wouldn't you agree? In the Coach's Corner.
Yes.
Folks need to tune in. And here's the way the show's released from now on, folks. And if you're listening to BGA Group, the podcast for real life basketball, Coach's Corner comes out every Friday. Every Friday afternoon, Coach's Corner comes out, so you can hear a great high school, pro, college coach, somebody from all around the country, and talk about the things that coaches do. That's number one. And even coaches that had formerly been in the game that are now doing other things. We have a good time talking to them. Wouldn't you agree, Coach?
Yes.
Gives it incredible insight. And then during the week, on Tuesdays every week, you'll hear a different player, commentator, or anybody from Jay Billis to Shareef Abdur-Rahim to Jerry Myers with 247 Sports to Stacy Davis with NUC Hoops and NYC Hoops. Where'd I get NU?
And Rivals.
And that good stuff. So we got folks, we're building a pretty good little following here, don't you think?
I think we are, and what we're going to try to expand on is the coaches all around the country.
Yeah.
So that we're just not centered around the South.
But it's a growth. It's a growth transition. And do us a favor. Have your family and friends listen to us. If you love basketball and you want to get insight, I promise you will get as much insight here as you get anywhere in America. Wouldn't you agree, Coach?
Yes, I do. And I want you all to understand that we're trying to get the top of the food chain, not somebody that's really struggling, because maybe we can learn from that person at the top on how to get there. Okay?
No doubt. We and in the coaches show, I'll give you a little hint. You don't even know this. I don't even think I told you this. So we're reaching out to great coaches all across the country to get them to come on. Okay. So I send a letter to the University of Kentucky, an email the other day, and people say, well, who do you contact? Well, if you ain't smart enough to know who to contact these schools, I ain't going to tell you how to do it, because I don't want you to copy, number one, what we do. But I care less if you copy. If you do it and do it right. I'm just going to say it like that and be for real. But if you ain't smart enough to know who to contact, then you ain't got no business probably contacting. Wouldn't you agree, Coach?
Well, you're not going to contact
That's right. You're not going to contact them. It's like if you ain't smart enough to go get a driver's license, you ain't got no business driving a car. Ain't that crazy? Sometimes I just come out plain country, don't I?
Well, just tell the truth.
That's why we keep it real.
Yes.
That's we always say we come from the barbershop and from the front porch, and it's, I'm going to tell you this real quick. This is funny, talk about the front porch, Coach. You're going to laugh your head off. You remember back in Georgia when the first lottery come out?
Yes.
So we all sitting on my great uncle Edward. And old Uncle Edward, he'd never probably made more than $12 an hour, World War II veteran, good man, all this, and worked hard all his life. Treasurer of the deacon board, sat on the side, and this, that, and the other. But they asked Uncle Edward, he was 80 years old, chairman of the deacon board, you going to buy a number? He said, yeah. He said, Lord, the church's going to be mad at you. He said, well, I ain't worried about it. I said, well, Uncle Edward, what are you going to do if you win that money for that lottery? You know what he told me?
What's that?
He said, I think I'm going to screen this porch in. Talk about if he wins, he wins $2 million. And going to screen a porch in.
That's where you start.
What was I even talking about? Talking about writing coaches' letters. That's what I was talking about. So, just keep it real, Coach.
It is.
So I write I get a hold of folks for John Calipari up in Kentucky, okay? And I said, can we get the coach on? Can we get Coach Cal on? And they said, let me check. And they come back and said, Coach Cal will not, they sent me an email back, Coach Cal will not be available to be interviewed on the Coach's Corner in the foreseeable future, perhaps after the season's over. And I was thinking, he's that upset that Zion Williamson went to do? Is he that upset?
Well, I saw them to play the other day, and he was a little upset with the kids, but I thought they were playing hard.
Against Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's awful. And they went to overtime and almost lost. And they acted like they won the NCAA tournament at the end of the game.
No, he wasn't too happy, though.
Oh, he wasn't too. But the kids running and jumping on each other in the middle of the court and everything after beating Vanderbilt. Come on.
Hey,
them kids at Vanderbilt ain't trying to go to the NBA.
Well,
them kids at Vanderbilt trying to be doctors and lawyers. You know that.
Hey, a W's a W. Yeah.
Them Vanderbilt kids going to be the agent for the kid playing at Kentucky right now. And they lost. I bet that's a good conversation for another day. We need to get an agent on one of these days.
We can do that.
Let's do that. Okay. Let's get an agent. We're going to keep it real. But let's go to Carriage Automotive Group, Julio Jones Automotive Group, Skyline, and talk to Shareef Abdur-Rahim. And welcome back to Real Life Basketball. Darren Sutherland and the coach, the legend, Doug Lipscomb, once again on the Carriage Automotive Group. Doug, I'm getting tongue-tied this afternoon. Carriage Automotive Group, Skyline. And we're going to talk to arguably the greatest high school basketball player, or greatest player born in the state of Georgia. Or no, maybe born in the state of Georgia, played high school basketball. I don't know if he's born here or not. But Shareef Abdur-Rahim. Shareef, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, yourself. And yes, I'm born and raised in Georgia. So,
born and raised in Georgia. So you are. So arguably, Doug, he is one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player to ever come from the state of Georgia. Would you agree?
Most definitely.
Most definitely. So, Shareef,
that's nice. I'm doing well. That's nice of you. I don't know. It's some really fantastic guys that have come out of Dale Ellis and many others that I would, maybe say would have an argument with that. But I'm more than humbled by that. And I'm doing well, and I'm excited to join and talk to Coach and hear what's going on. So thank you for having me.
No problem. Shareef, you got to tell us straight out, before we even start the interview, and I pose this question to everybody, no matter if it's an opposing coach that he coached against or a player that he coached. We got to talk to your brother a while back, the Texas A&M assistant coach. But what was it like playing for Doug Lipscomb and playing at Wheeler High School?
You know, I think and everyone will have, probably a different answer to that, and their experience was different. I think, myself and Coach's experience was one, it was pronged in a couple of different ways. And I say that because, what Wheeler became is much different than what it was when Coach first got there. So,
right.
Folks, Wheeler was a football school, First off, my freshman year and, pretty much until my senior year, maybe by my senior year, started getting recognition of what Coach had started to build as a basketball and his basketball, prowess. But so, that's number one. And then for me personally, Coach was, this is 23, 24 years ago. Coach was, a lot younger, and I was a lot younger, and Coach was, still playing a lot, where, Coach would pick me up and, just he and I would go to the gym and, play one-on-one for hours. He had, just not, long before finished playing himself. So, like, our relationship and playing for him, although he was always authoritative figure, to me, he served the role. I didn't have an older brother, so you spoke to my younger brother. I didn't have an older brother. Coach, in a lot of ways, he was a teacher, he was a coach. And then for me personally, he was, an older brother, someone that could, on the court, beat me up and push me and, encourage me to do better and set really high expectations for me. And then he just set around the school, he just set a cadence for us that we were going to, go to class and conduct ourselves a certain way, and, that we were going to represent Wheeler High School and the program a certain way. The one or two times that I think Coach ever really got upset with me was I missed a tutoring session. He kicked me out of the gym. And, in practice, I was probably speaking to one of my teammates, in a poor manner. Those are the two, just the two times I can think of him getting really, really upset with me, in our 4 years being together. So, but it was, it was wonderful. It was competitive. Like, I still haven't been around anyone that hated to lose more than him, but then that, made sure, like, we had to take care of each other. Like, that was his thing, was that we were going to take care of each other, that we were going to work hard, and that we were going to compete. And, that's what he, those kind of, those values, have stayed with me. I think if you talk to many of the guys that played, for him, or just folks that were around him, kids that, just gravitated to him, as many kids that didn't even play basketball would, they would say that was his way, that we were going to take care of each other. We were going to conduct ourselves a certain way and be respectful to other people and go to class, and that all his kids, I think he took a lot of pride in that. The kids that he had, that they were good basketball players, but they were good students, and they all qualified and went to college, and many of them graduated from college. Those were the things he, and I tell you, right, quite frankly, and I'm running, the thing I remember, man, I hurt my knee my senior year of high school. I had already signed my scholarship. Coach told me, and, I was a big part of the team, but Coach, his thing to me was like, don't play anymore this season. Like, you got a scholarship, you don't have to play anymore. It's not a lot of people. I think that would, sum up who Coach was. Like, he like, don't play anymore. You don't have to, you got a scholarship. So, long-winded answer, I could go on and on, but, that was, that's a lot of my memories and more.
Well, Shareef, after that introduction, we're going to have to call the Pope and give him sainthood here in just a second.
No, I didn't say he was a saint, though.
That's what I was about to say. I was just going to keep it real right here with you one time because we call this real life basketball, and we're going to keep it real. How many points? Yeah. How many points did you have to spot him in one-on-one for him to make it competitive? Because he hates.
I didn't. I tell you the truth. I couldn't beat him. Or even really push him. I didn't win games probably until my senior year. Until then, he was just beating me up. I would leave and go other places, and folks would call back and tell them how well I was doing, and I come back and he, beat me up, and almost to like he didn't care what I had done in some tournament or some camp. But I couldn't keep up with him really until probably my senior year. I'd start getting a couple of wins.
Doug, what do you think about all that? Well, that's got to be refreshing to hear what a young man's saying about you 25, 26 years later.
That's true. It is very refreshing, but it's so funny.
It's a blessing.
We are all like family. And so what was amazing was Shareef would go away and he would dominate, and when he came back to the gym, he didn't know he was getting set up because I would have a point guard waiting to play him whole court one-on-one, and then I was sitting over there waiting for my turn. So then I'm playing him one-on-one full court, so he was getting the bigs and the smalls running at him, and he could compete on any level. But I never forget the day that he finally beat me. He wasn't doing a whole lot of talking in the car, but when we got home to his mom's house, he ran in the house and he told him, I beat him. I said, okay, you got me today.
That's funny.
But it is a blessing to have a person like Shareef Abdur-Rahim in my program, because when he got there, you can actually say a kid like that can help build your program, especially when he has the support from his family and he wants to listen and he wants to be the best that he could possibly be. And it was just a blessing to have him in my program. And as we move forward, I had at least an Abdur-Rahim brother in my program from the day that I started to the day that I ended at Wheeler High School. So I said that. But moving forward, Shareef, I want to ask you a question. Like, this is something that people need to know about you. Can you give them a breakdown of your career from your high school days, college, Olympic years when you were on the Olympic team, and your professional career, please?
So the 4 years at Wheeler High School, we were my junior year, we were state champions, and I was fortunate enough to be the player of the year in the state. And then my senior year,
Shareef, let me stop you right there real quick when you say you state champion, because I got a good friend that will want me to ask this question. Okay, how come you couldn't beat Pope that year, but yet you won state championship?
Well, and I would be honest with you. Like, that's a great question. Now think about it. This is just how things work out. We couldn't beat Pope that year, and we couldn't beat Marietta.
Yeah.
And
Scott Holland wanted me to ask that question, by the way, if you remember.
But I don't know. Hold on. We couldn't beat Pope that year, and we couldn't beat Marietta. And Marietta maybe would have been the best team in the state. Stephen Goosey, I don't know how many folks that listen to your show remember him, but he still is one of the better scorers. I remember he had a week of maybe 100 points in a week. In 3 games in a week, he scored 100 points. But it things kind of like just opened up for us. Around the region tournament, we started coming together as a team, and we surprised ourselves, I think. And a lot of that, again, like when I speak of coaches' competitiveness, maybe in our mind, because we had no historical, reference. So the kids who came behind us, they had that we were state champions or region champions. We didn't have that. And the coaches, whatever it was in him, he just didn't accept that we couldn't beat Marietta. He didn't accept that we couldn't beat Pope. And we just kept going and going. And I want to say maybe it was one of those teams was upset. Maybe it was Marietta upset in the regions.
Yeah.
Which just opened things up for us and allowed us, and we still went into the state tournament. I want to say I don't think we won regions.
No.
That we didn't win regions going into the state tournament,
right?
And we just kept playing. We kept playing. We had a game, probably one of my better high school games against Beach County from Savannah, and that week I had the flu. I don't think I practiced that whole week, and that was. I mean, we just as a team, we were. I remember their front line was coach would remember was 6'6", 6'9", and then my college roommate ended up going to Cal with me. Passed away. Kenyon Jones was 6'11". And that was their front line. He had, guards 6'2". It was a big team, and we just, again, we just competed and we upset them, and we kept going. But again, that region, Coach will speak to it. Our region, I don't know how much respect they got at the time, but I mean, you had Pope, you had Lassiter, Coach Pretzel, Coach over at Lassiter. You had Marietta. Yeah. McEachern was always really good. Marietta was really good, and then you had other teams, that just, Osborne and Campbell. It was very, very competitive. Walton was tough. It was just a really tough region, and in a lot of ways, it prepared us that when we ran up against those teams in the state, that. We were prepared, but Pope was a very tough. They were very tough.
Stan Neal was the coach then.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys. Kareem Reed and Scott and a kid. They had a guy Jay Bailey. I mean, he was just so smooth. It was tough. They were tough.
And that's the great thing about Georgia basketball. When we talk about it, it doesn't matter if we talk about it from today's game with great players to the times that you were playing, to even before you, with players such as Dale Ellis, Brian Oliver, Cedric Henderson, Darren Hancock from down in Griffin, and so many others. Georgia has produced some great basketball players through the years, but you've kind of surpassed a lot of them. But let me say this: you went to Cal to go to college. Was that an unpopular decision, Shareef? I mean, you're from Georgia. We're in the SEC country. We're in rim shot of ACC country with Georgia Tech. Those are, I'm sure the Kentuckys were knocking on the door, the North Carolinas and the Dukes. And you did something that not many kids do. I mean, let's face it. You picked up and went to California. What brought that decision on?
Well, I mean, I think, so at that time, Georgia wasn't quite where it is now. Georgia Tech was a really big deal. Coach Cummings and I had, got to know each other really well. So, I mean, it was tough. It was really, really tough. And, I mean, I spent a ton of time just going to Tech games. Martise Moore had gone there before me, and he was really good to me when I was a younger guy. And
right.
So that was a really, really tough decision. But visiting Cal, I just fit. And I thought that it was somewhere where I could go and play and work on my game and go to school.
Right.
And just meet people and have a good experience. It worked out.
Do you feel like the pressure was less on you in California than what it may have been at a Kentucky, a Duke, a North Carolina, somewhere like that? Or
I didn't. I didn't internalize that at the time, and I didn't even think about that. And I think, I tell my son once, because I'd never visited like Kentucky or Duke. And once I stopped playing, I was working in the NBA, and I would go to these places and watch the games. You get to really appreciate, what they are in regards to the atmosphere and, all the fandom around it. And I told my son, I said, man, if I had done that in high school, there's no way that I would have went to Cal. So it was kind of a blessing that I didn't get to see that. I mean, you think of these places, like Fog Island Fieldhouse. I never, like the coaches recruited me and I got to know them. They came from home visits and everything, but I never went there to visit. And it probably was. It did give me an opportunity at Cal to just be away. No one knew me. I could get in the gym whenever I wanted to. It wasn't a whole lot going on. It did, just give me first time away from home. It gave me, the opportunity to, grow up and, learn a lot about myself. I will say that.
1 year in college, where's your favorite place you played at other than home? I know you got to give props to California because that's your home gym. But where was the most exciting place you remember going?
UCLA.
UCLA.
Without a doubt, UCLA. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, there's all the history there.
Right.
All the great players. And I don't, I say this, I don't know that folks really, we talk about Duke, Kentucky, but the history of Poly, the history of the UCLA program, is not until you're like in that gym and you look up and see all the national championships and all the players that came through there. By far, that was. And at the time, I'll give you another one. Eugene, Oregon, University of Oregon. They have, if you watch them now, they got a big, pretty gym, and Nike, you've been a big contributor to them. But at that time, I mean, they played in a little, like a little cage, and it was just crazy there. And so that was a fun environment as well.
So Jabbar didn't have any influence on you trying to go to go to UCLA, Shareef? I mean,
Nah, no one, no one like that. It was really, it was different. I think high school basketball just nationally now gets a lot more attention than it did at that time. I think things, and during my time, it was more of like a, big deal regionally.
Right.
But I mean, this is before, before social media and all of that. So the information, it didn't travel the same way.
No doubt. The only high school basketball game I could never get in, Shareef, was when y'all were playing the region over at Sprayberry, and I couldn't get in. And I can get in anything most of the time, but they wouldn't let us in the door. And I still give Doug a hard time over that today. So it is what it is.
Yeah. That was all of those Marietta games, though. I mean, that was
no doubt.
I tell Coach all the time, the fact that they took Marietta off the schedule and out of the region is like all the realignment, all the conference realignments, right? Like, the fact that Duke doesn't play Maryland anymore, like that's just, if you grew up on that, you're just sick to your stomach that they don't, I can remember kids saying their mom and dad couldn't get in those games because they didn't get there. They couldn't get off work and get there by the start of the girls' JV game. That's how you at Marietta or at Wheeler. That was, and that was before the big, pretty Cobb County. Everyone had the big, pretty Cobb County gyms,
Right. No doubt.
Yeah.
That's true. Shareef, I want to ask you this one question. You represented the United States by being on the Olympic team. Can you tell us what it was like playing with the best professionals in the NBA at that time, and representing the USA?
Well, I think it was like, again, you start as a kid, you have dreams, not even goals. They're just like far out dreams. So, when I started and the goals, the things that were like goals was like, okay, I wanted to play varsity basketball as a freshman. I wanted to get a scholarship to college and play, college basketball. And then the dreams were, the NBA. I want to be an Olympian. And, just to be fortunate enough to like, reach your goals and reach your dreams, if you understand what I'm saying, was awesome. And then the pride and the appreciation you have for being able to represent your country, and then to see how other really good guys do it. You in the room with all the really good players. So to learn from those guys. To see Jason Kidd every day for a month, to practice with Kevin Garnett and see how hard he practices.
Yeah.
Steve Smith, how well Allen Houston shot the ball. Like, man, we were together for a month for about 2 weeks of that time, Allen Houston's had jammed his right wrist. So he wasn't playing, he wasn't practicing. By the time we got to, the actual Olympics, he was okay. For the 2 weeks that he wasn't, that his wrist was hurt, man, he shot the ball in practice with his left hand. And the only other person I've seen him do this was Coach. But his form, shoot the ball with his left hand, was just as good as his form shooting the ball with his right hand. And that's true story. Coach could shoot the ball with his left hand almost just as well as he could with his right hand.
Well, look,
and he was a heck of a. He probably don't tell you guys this. He's a heck of a ping pong. He's a heck of a ping pong player with his
when he's on. I would have never brought.
He had a time. Look, he had a time. This is how much he hated to lose. My senior year, I get hurt, so we're really down. Probably our best player then was a freshman, was D.A. Lane. He's probably our best player.
Yeah.
The first half of the season. So we lose a couple games, and Coach gets so mad after one of the games. He takes his open hand, not his fist, his open hand, and he smacks it against the chalkboard.
Well,
he cracks some bones in his hands, right? We enjoyed playing ping pong so much before practice. Coach started playing ping pong with his left hand, and nobody could beat him, man. No. I mean, nobody could beat him. He was so good with his left hand. But that was, I digress. But all of those things, just being around those guys, Coach. The families, and then, to win a gold medal. I have a gold medal that, like I said, I'm a kid from Marietta, Georgia. I have a gold medal. Those are the memories, but to accomplish, to live out a dream, I'm fortunate. Not a lot of people get to do that.
You mentioned Allen Houston, the shooter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to ask you a personal question here. Does he still cheat at golf? Because I played with him one time, and he cheated on me, but I ain't going to give him a hard time.
He cheated on you?
He cheated on me. No, he's
I hear he's a pretty good golfer. I never had the opportunity to play golf with him.
Yeah, he is a great golfer. I'm just giving him a hard time for when we messed with him. But what's it like? I mean, you're playing around all them great guys. You're living around all them great guys during this month time period. What's to the NBA players and to the players of that time, do you really get the Olympic experience, or do they keep you guys isolated from everybody else? I know you were in.
You kind of isolated, but you still so you don't live in the like the Olympic Village,
right?
But we did opening ceremony, so that was awesome. Saw like all of the athletes at that time. I had pictures. The kid Taylor from Arkansas, from Little Rock, the boxer.
Yeah.
I had pictures with him, as an Olympian. This is before he blew up and was a world champion or any of that. So, I mean, those folks, the Williams sisters, all these people that you see, the other, the really special athletes, and then to be able to go around and, go to the different events, be it, the track and field events. Again, ping pong. I like ping pong. So myself and Steve Smith, we went and sat and watched the ping pong competition. So
could Coach have played in that ping pong competition? That's the question.
No.
Could Coach have played with those?
I don't know. Them Asian guys, they were quicker. Their dexterity was better than Coach. Coach had to reach, but their dexterity, I think, would have got Coach. I don't know if he could have returned those serves. They had some mean serves, but other than that, I haven't seen a better ping pong player than Coach.
Well, we had a lot of practice, and I think that people won't understand, but I feel like that brought us closer together because we had a ping pong table either on the stage or we had one in the dressing room. And that was because, that was because I had to make sure I was monitoring the players, or they would have said you were unsupervised. So
that's right.
So we had a method to our madness at all times. But let me ask you this: you brought up something very interesting when you said that you didn't get an opportunity to go to the Kentuckys and those places like that. Well, now you as a father, you have a very skilled son and daughter. So how are you going to handle that when it comes time for them? And they're already recruiting him, because of his skill set, and he comes from a very good home. So what are you going to do about that?
I mean, I don't. Well, I think, for me and Coach, you were there. I don't have. There's nothing different I would have necessarily done with my process. Like I made the decision, and my parents, they were there and they were a part of it. And when I told them what I wanted to do, I explained it to them. They were okay with it. And you did, you said it to me, like, man, go see this or go see that. And I was like, no, this is what I want to do. And once I was able to say that to you, okay, like, well, let's, you don't have to come to California. We got to figure out how to get out to California. But, I would, hopefully, share some of my experiences with them. Or, I'd say the same thing to any. We had, both of us, we had Jaylen Brown who did something similar, right? And I would, share some of my experiences. And but ultimately, you have to, the kid has to really, want to be in that place, and that's them that has to make the commitment. So. I would, still support his, if it's an intelligent decision and it's about, the principles and values that we have. I'm a supporter.
Truthfully, we leave after our freshman year. You go in the NBA draft. You're picked 3rd overall by Vancouver, and that's got to be an awesome experience. However, let me ask you this: Vancouver not being a basketball power and it being a new team, was it an expansion team? I can't recall at that point if it was an expansion team.
I went the 2nd year of the franchise.
Okay.
So essentially it was, yeah.
So essentially, and if I remember correctly, Marcus Camby was chosen before you, and I think he went to the Knicks. Yeah. Am I correct?
No, he went to the Raptors, so I was going to Canada either way, right? So he went to the Raptors. I went to the Grizzlies.
Went to the Raptors. He went to Toronto. Right. And Iverson went.
He ended up with the Knicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Iverson went 1, and he went to Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Was there any? I mean, you're living your NBA dream. Okay, you're being picked 3rd overall. You go inside of a 3-year period of digging quarters out of a couch to get enough money for an extra value meal at McDonald's, to being the number 3 overall pick in the NBA draft and going to Vancouver, and you're the king of the town because you're the new player, and you get to walk around with Bryant Big Country Reeves and do all that kind of fun stuff. Let me ask you this. What's going through your mind at this point? I mean, Vancouver, British Columbia it might as well be Paris, France to Atlanta, Georgia. Or it is a different world. I mean, it's on the same continent, we know, but it's about as far as you can get. What's going through your mind at this point, Shareef, as a rookie, and you're looking around and saying, why Vancouver? Why not? Why couldn't I have gone to 5th and gone where Ray Allen went, or gone, where Antoine Walker went, or Lorenzen Wright? Why couldn't I have gone there?
They traded him, by the way, too, Ray Allen,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't, I was, and again, Coach will speak to this, I wasn't, high school wise, I wasn't like a high school phenom. I was a kid that, I think I did, each year I got better, and I worked hard, and Coach worked with me. But, maybe the end of my summer of my junior year, after my junior year, I kind of came on. So I wasn't, I didn't feel entitled that I had to be here or be there. And I think some of that is what went into, like, my college decision, is that a lot of the schools, they didn't start recruiting me until late. So just the idea that I was in the NBA and I look across and, like, man, that's Scottie Pippen and that's Michael Jordan and, oh, man, that's Chris Mullin and, like, guys I, like, grew up looking up to. Like, man, I got to play against Dominique Wilkins. Like, that's my childhood, hero. So
Right.
that was enough to me. Like that I'm in Vancouver. I can remember flying there. I'm asking my agent. I'm like, man, where is Vancouver? And he was like, oh, it's like next to Seattle. And I was like, oh, okay. And I knew the only reason I had an appreciation for that is because I played in the Pac-10 and we played the University of Washington that year. So it was like, oh, okay. He's like, it's an hour or 2 hours from Seattle. I said, okay, well, let's go. And for me, during my time there, you had different guys that didn't want to come there, and they wouldn't. For me, it was great. Like, it was just a great experience. It was something new. It had its challenges, but I love the city. If you've ever been there, it's one of the best North American cities
It's a beautiful town.
There is. So, it was great. The people were learning basketball, but if you look at this, if you look at the number of players coming out of Canada now, the Kelly Olynyk's, the Andrew Wiggins, the kid Murray in Denver, all of these guys, I think a large part of that
Steve
is...
Nash Steve Nash was in the same draft as you, and he's Canadian.
Yeah. But I think a huge part of that is, just those early days of, NBA basketball in Canada.
Right.
But it was great because we were a young team and a young franchise. We lost a lot, and that was tough. I'll be honest. Like, that part is tough. It's still, I still think about that part. That bothers me because I just, again, like being around Coach and what he helped build or did build at Wheeler. We just, that wasn't something that. That wasn't something we were accustomed to.
Yeah.
But I tell you this, I have to interject right here. When you got drafted to Vancouver, it was just top of the world for me personally, and I'm gonna tell you why. In that time period, I had a set of triplets, and then you got drafted, and I'm like, I have really helped someone achieve the ultimate goal as a athlete. I mean, because it doesn't get any higher than being a professional athlete if that's what you aspire to do. And I was able to help someone accomplish their goal. And then, of course, sometimes when we do that, we think, hey, he ain't the only one that I can do this for. So that just kept the fire burning in me, and it burns today, that if I were to be back in as a coach, that would be my ultimate goal as well, win championships and put people in the places that they are most successful. Having said that, I mean, I'm so happy for all those kids that played in that program because we produce lawyers, accountants, doctors. Michael Thompson's a doctor. I guess I would let him operate on me if I had to. But but at the end of the day, Reef, I want you to tell me this right here. If you had to give your advice to a college kid or a professional athlete from a business perspective, what's the best advice you can give them?
Well, I think it's this. I think it's learn the business. Like this is a business. This is the sports business. Learn the business. It's a business to your show, to this podcast, to this that you're doing. There's a business component to it. Right? It's not we talking basketball, but there is a business component. Understand that, and that fits into the business. Business partners with each that each team has. Understand who they are. It's a contract that you have between yourself and the team in the NBA. Understand that. Take your time to try to learn those aspects of what you're doing. I think that makes you, more well-rounded. I think you'll have you'll have longevity because you'll identify and see different areas that are attractive to you, that fits your interests, and ultimately you'll come out of it, and folks won't just have taken advantage of you. You would have benefited as well. Be it you're a college athlete, and it's folks there on that college campus that just because you represent Georgia Tech or Georgia, that would like to know you, not to do anything illegal, but just to know you. And maybe one day they'll open the door for you. But you should be conscious that's going on. So for me, do that. They have publications. Go, subscribe to Sports Business Journal or something, of that nature, and start understanding and reading and learning about what's going on in the sports industry.
Okay. One other thing, Shareef. Would you please tell the people about your educational background and tell me, did you accomplish in getting your degree, and just tell us about that.
So I did. So again, as we said, I left. I went to Cal, and I left after a year. And that was, I didn't expect to do that, but I just kind of probably outperformed what I thought I would do. But over my career in the NBA, maybe after about 3 or 4 years in, I started taking correspondence classes, or take classes in the summer at Cal, take classes in different community colleges in different cities that I played in. And by the time I ended my career, I was probably about a year or so, 30, 40 credits short of graduating. And at that time, my family and I finished my career in Sacramento. Sacramento was about an hour or so to Berkeley. It just worked out that way. So I would drive down to Berkeley a couple of times a week and take classes. And about a year or so, year and a half, I finished there. So I earned my undergraduate degree in sociology. A few years later, so 2014, 2015, I enrolled at USC, University of Southern California. I have to distinguish that because you guys in the South, USC is University of South Carolina, so make sure everybody know I'm talking about the Trojans and not the Gamecocks. But I enrolled there to earn my MBA. So I also earned a master's in business as well, and that took about 2 years. So a lot of hard work, but again, that's So, and Coach, he speaks about he probably has 5 or 6 guys that have played in the NBA and played professionally, countless that have played professionally internationally. But I can't count on the guys that have graduated from college that didn't play professionally, that are investment bankers, accountants, doctors, lawyers, coaches. And, those principles, again, like one of the major problems Coach and I had was me just, committing myself to my schoolwork and being a student. And if I didn't do that, then I wasn't allowed to come to the gym. I wasn't allowed to play. Coach would literally walk around the school and, ask my algebra teacher, Miss Simone, did I come for morning help? And she would tell him the truth, that, either I did or I didn't. He would have his sister-in-law at the time, come after she got off of work and tutor me in algebra. So, I mean, this is who Coach is, as a teacher, as a coach, as an administrator. For many of us, big brothers, for some, a father figure, but it was big, bigger than basketball.
Shareef,
I really, it was much bigger than, just basketball. And in a lot of ways, I have an active mother in my life, an active father, both, instill principles in their children, spirituality and treating people well and giving back. But then, that extended to Coach, and throughout my life, be it in the NBA, before the NBA, college, a lot of things that folks were doing, my experiences from Wheeler were my compass to say, okay, we do that, we don't do that. What would Coach say if I was doing this? What would Coach say if I wasn't going to class? Or what would Coach say if I wasn't practicing hard? And, that has, took me a long way.
Shareef, a couple of weeks ago we had the we had the occasion to, I'm getting tongue-tied here, Lord have mercy, but we had the occasion to interview Jay Billis. And Jay Billis has been very outspoken in the way NCAA athletes are treated and taken advantage of in a lot of instances. And I asked Jay this question. I said, Jay, you know, a lot of people in the media are going to make a spectacle for the draft this year when Mr. Bagley comes out, Mr. Sexton comes out, Mr. Trey Young comes out, Mr. Ayton comes out, and they're taken in that lottery position. And they're going to say they have bastardized the college programs by going 1 year and leaving. How come the NCAA doesn't use to their advantage and champion players that are doing this, like Shareef Abdur-Rahim, that left after his freshman year, but yet came back and was able to obtain his master's degree? How come the NCAA doesn't promote this? And I know you work for the NBA and you're in the NBA office, but doesn't it seem like a great story? And I know you don't pat yourself on the back, but that's a story within itself, and we want to keep it real with the people out there. You know, anybody can look up your numbers that you scored, 15,000 points and played for the Hawks and the Kings and this, that, and another. But they're not telling the real story that's affecting more youngsters than anything else, and that's education. You came back and got it. Why didn't the NCAA or others promote this of what you've accomplished? And I'm sure there's other players out there like Shaquille O'Neal came back and got his master's. How come you think they don't do this as much?
Well, you would probably understand, messaging and, what sells and the content that carries. I'm not sure that that's the story that, that folks, that is sensationalized.
Right.
I think the one and done story is a more sensational story than Marvin Williams, who, after 10, 11, 12 years in the NBA, leaving after his freshman year, going to the Hawks, now in Charlotte, and, went back as well and earned his degree from UNC. Right? Like that's not as exciting a story as all of these young kids that are leaving school early. But I think it's a great story, obviously.
I mean, it's a great story, even to the aspect of a Dejan Wagner who left Memphis and went to play at Cleveland, and had he not went and played at Cleveland, they would have found his sickness. He had a colitis or something like that. He would have never got a check. They don't even tell these stories, and that's what blows my mind about the NCAA. And why don't they promote this stuff? That just it kills me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, though, it's a business. It's a business to that as well. And so, I mean, people decide, which stories are the stories that need to be, told. I think we, as guys that have gone off and done it, could probably do a better job of championing those.
Yeah, no doubt.
Championing those stories.
Well, as a fan and coming from a fan, I want to say thank you for what you've done and shown young people that, hey, I did what I had to do. I went to college. I finished. And let's say this, college may not be for everybody, but you know what? You overcame some adversity even after being a professional athlete and finished. And I don't know if you heard this or not, but your own brother who was on with us, Amir, was on with us a couple of months ago, said, you know what, my brother's made X amount of dollars, but I was prouder of him for getting that master's degree than anything else. So that's something to be said for you, my friend. And I wasn't trying to trick you. It just fires me up when I hear about these NCAA rules and how they bastardize some of these kids in the wrong way, because these truly are, I mean, you're a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid at that point, and they're asking you to make decisions that affects them more than affects the kids personally, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a I didn't get to hear with, and Jay has been really outspoken about it. It's a broken system. We just have to figure out how to best serve everyone.
No doubt.
Mainly the young people, because if you look at it in all of its parts, they're the only ones that are using their work labor, in this whole model. So we had to figure out a better system.
I know Coach has got one more question for you before we get out of here, but I got to tell you one thing personal about Shareef Abdur-Rahim. So my son's playing high school basketball here in Cobb County for a private school. And we go to a school in DeKalb County to play. And had I not known Shareef Abdur-Rahim played for Wheeler High School and played high school basketball at Wheeler High School, this high school, private school, had more Shareef Abdul paraphernalia hanging up than any school in the world. So when I walked into W.D. Muhammad and I'm seeing all this Shareef Abdur-Rahim paraphernalia, I'm thinking to myself, Shareef played at Wheeler. They've got his jersey retired down here. Why is this? So, hey, man, you're loved all over the place. And thank you for what you've done for Georgia basketball. And thank you for being a coach's first project, so to speak, because without you, you helped make Doug Lipscomb, and Doug Lipscomb helped you. And from the fans' perspective, we appreciate that.
Well, no, thank you. And I tell you, really thank Coach. I don't know how many, I don't know if I've ever said it. I think I have. I hope I have. But I would salute, I salute Coach for, the work and the effort and the sacrifice he made, him and his family, his wife, Miss Cherie, all of them, that they were a huge part of my success and, my growth and then, just what he's done for, so many, other guys that didn't, that wouldn't have had opportunity. I'm sure Coach would have helped, grow someone else into, a professional basketball player. But I'm not sure that, that many people would have taken the time to help the young men grow the way Coach did. So I'm more than thankful to Coach. I think we all, have a huge debt that we owe him, and whoever, wherever, if he decides that he wants to coach again, I'm sure he's content in a lot of ways, not having to, deal with a lot of stuff that comes with coaching. But if he decides that he wants to go and, take it on again, that school or, if it's a university, they will be, better for having him a part of their school.
I told him to go down there and apply for the job for the G League, for the Hawks' new franchise down there in College Park.
You don't want to do that.
He's got a good reference sheet, I think. So anyway.
Yeah, but I'd have to put on a helmet or something going down there with them kids. But let me continue this. Hey, Reef, you don't have to thank me, man. Just by the things that you've done and the way you've helped other people is rewarding enough for me. But we always had this philosophy that you want for your brother what you want for yourself. And that's what I've seen you guys demonstrate, and it's so good that I can see all of you, doing the best that you can do. Of course, we're going to have some pitfalls here and there, but we bounce back and we keep it moving. But I think I would be remiss not to say that you've done a lot for Wheeler basketball and other people as well, the NBA, the college programs, and I think Jaylen Brown did a very fantastic thing by just looking at what you did and look at the success rate that and the success he's having right now. And that's all because of what you guys built. You and the Mike Santos and the Eric Desmonds and those kids, Greg Singleton, and I hope I won't keep mentioning people along the way because they'll feel like I left them out if I don't say their name. So let's just say the whole family, But continue to do what you're doing, man, and thank you for talking to us. And hopefully, people that hear our podcast will know more about you, and that's good.
Shareef,
where can I find the podcast? Tell me where I can find the podcast.
And I'll help you with that real easy, Shareef. Go to iTunes, type in Real Life Basketball, and you'll see us there, big orange basketball on there, and you'll see our icon there, and listen to it. And we've done a few shows, and do us a favor. We kind of, if you've noticed, we ain't talked a whole lot of NBA with you, because we would rather talk about real life basketball, what's going on in somebody's life. And you've shared with us. You've shared with us life today, and that's what we want the people to understand. They can hear about the scores and all that on ESPN, on Fox Sports, and all that. We want the folks to know what it was like for a young man to go from, like I said earlier, digging quarters out of coach's couch to get enough money to go get an extra value meal or a $5 footlong, and then 3 years later you're in the NBA.
I would sleep over. I'll tell you the truth. Coach will remember this. I would sleep over his house because his sister-in-law would come and tutor me in algebra. And Miss Shareef, she would make the best. She had like a shrimp pasta dish that she would make. And she would make enough, and I guess they were going to take it to work the next day. And I didn't know any better. I would wake up in the middle of the night and pull it out of the freezer and go and put it in the microwave and eat extra. And they wake up in the morning and fussing at each other because they think each other that I had ate up all the leftovers. So that's who Coach is. That's who his family is to me. It's just I'm ecstatic to hear him. Telling all these stories. It's probably it's a documentary or a book or something much more in depth. But you guys have a real jewel there. So I hope for as long as you have them, they tune in and listen and hear a lot of good history.
We'll make sure folks hear it. We'll make sure people know that you're on with us. I learn things about coaching every show, and I pick on them, and we write out a script, and we say we're going to talk about this, this, and this, and I always hit him blindsided with something. So you know what I'm going to hit him blindsided with today? Now I know why he's so upset sometimes. Because he said today, about the time you was getting drafted, I was having triplets. So he watched you go. He watched you go from no money in the bank to money in the bank, and he went from money in the bank to no money in the bank with triplets.
Hey, we're gonna leave that alone right there, okay?
Okay. All right.
Appreciate you.
Shareef, thank you for listening.
I love you, man.
Love you too, bro.
Appreciate your time, Shareef Abdur-Rahim.
All right, y'all take care. Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, brother. Peace.
Shareef Abdur-Rahim on the Skype line there with Coach Doug Lipscomb, Darren Sutherland. Coach Doug, man, what a gentleman.
Oh yeah, very insightful. Hey, extremely intelligent.
Smart kid.
Yes.
Smart kid. He keeps it real.
Yeah.
He keeps it real, no doubt. And and it's like I say, if you listen to real life basketball, you're going to hear stuff that you may not hear anywhere else. We could have spent another hour talking about his NBA career. He played for Sacramento. He played for the Hawks. He was an all-star in '92. Played for Vancouver. Played for, you heard me mention it in the interview, Coach. One of my favorite college players and pro players, Bryant Big Country Reeves, played with him.
Oh, yeah.
And played with a lot of different folks. Played here in Atlanta. Oh, yeah. But the thing I got more out of that interview than anything else is the emphasis, hear my southern dialect coming out, on education and continuing to push yourself forward. Push yourself forward. And pushing yourself forward in the right way.
Yes.
A lot of, you see this with students today, Coach, and I know you've been out of teaching for a year. But kids, you ain't going to tell me nothing now. I'm going to do what I'm going to do because that's the way I am, and I'm going to da-da-da-da-da-da. This young man could have told everybody, screw you. I ain't got to go back to school. I made $150 million. He could have said that to the world, just keeping it real, Coach. He could have said that. Yeah. But you know what? He is smart enough to know, hey, people are coming at me from the right wanting money here, left money here. I better know how to handle my business.
And he's done a very good job doing that.
And you know what? His family's proud of him. His family proud of him. And you know what? Let me say this. Thank you for being an influence in his life. Thank you for being an influence in his life. Hey, man, another great show today. Thank you for sharing with me and having a lot of good times. Easy enough?
Yes, sir.
Got anything else you want to throw out there before we get off here?
Make sure you know, want for your brother what you want for yourself.
That's a good point. And, hey, improve 1% every day. And if you do that, if you improve 1% every day, you can still lose 65% of the time, be 300% ahead, can't you, Coach?
Yes, sir.
That's right. Maybe we need to start doing that with $10 bills. What do you think?
No, let's hold on to the money. All right?
You're listening to Real Life Basketball with Darren Sutherland and the legend, the coach Doug Lipscomb. Our producer is Nick Paparelli, done at the home of BG Ad Group Studios in Marietta, Georgia. Thank you to our sponsors, Carriage Automotive Group, Julio Jones Kia in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Toccoa Falls College, and so many other folks. Thank you for listening to Real Life Basketball. Until next time, Darren Sutherland and the coach Doug Lipscomb. We'll talk to you this Friday.
All right.